I think that finding the perfect affordable dress watch for a collection is an incredibly difficult task. At least it's an area that I've personally struggled with since I started watch collecting. Or should I say watch addiction? Well, today I have a dress watch that I think might just be the perfect addition to many affordable collections. Not only does this piece have one of the best looking dials on the market, but it has one of the most interesting cases you'll find on an affordable dress watch. I think it's fair to say that one of the kings of the affordable dress watch market is the Seiko Cocktail Time, which is seemingly one of the go-tos when it comes to the $500 dress watch. And it's definitely a watch that I've thought about picking up on a few different occasions too. But when you compare something like this against them, it does make you think, why would anyone even buy the Cocktail Time? I'll first mention that this is an unsponsored review. This watch is only on loan and all views and opinions are mine. I was first introduced to this British micro brand last year, when I was doing research for my 10 British watch brands that you should know video. At the time, the only model that this brand had was the Senate, which is another beautiful dress piece. But this newer model, the Seeker, is definitely an evolution of that first model. Although this very much is a dress piece in design, Beaucroft hasn't cheapened out when it comes to the spec. Where the Seiko Cocktail Time uses entry-level materials like the mineral glass and their basic NH35 movement, this Beaucroft uses premium materials that will increase longevity and functionality for pretty much the same price. Most will argue though that the focal of the Cocktail Time range is the dial designs and not the spec for the money, with them featuring some of the best looking dials you'll find on affordable watches. But I think that this Beaucroft is very much competing in this category too, especially with this specific model, the teal dial variant. This is one of the only affordable watches that at least that I can think of where you get a double fume finish on the dial. Notice how the center dial fades from a blue-green in the center to black at the minute track. But then the minute track itself also features another sunburst fume finish, which gives this dial one of the most dynamic visual experiences that I have personally had the pleasure of seeing with the naked eye. Thankfully, Beaucroft allows this dynamic dial to really take center stage, using a simple dot print for the minutes and polished applied stick markers. The 12, 3, 6 and 9 all feature a lollipop index, with each of these featuring a plot of lume inside the circle. The leaf style hands on this watch also complements the dial design well, with them also featuring lume in the center. But an easy detail to miss is that tiny lollipop counterbalance to the polished seconds hand, which ties the indices and hands together in a subtle way. For a dress watch, the lume on this piece is surprisingly good. The use of BGW9 is also the perfect choice, with this luminescence emitting a blue-green hue, just like the dial colour. The use of lume on a dress watch, of course, is not even necessary, and can sometimes ruin the aesthetic that a dress watch delivers. But here, with how subtle it's been integrated, it works very well. Typically, cases on dress watches are super simple. Here though, the case is actually one of the standout features. Turning the watch on its side reveals the unusual construction. The lugs of the watch don't just blend into the side of the case like usual. Instead, they cross a bridge over the top of the crown to meet one another in the centre, with there being an extra element to the case beneath. These different surfaces also feature different finishes, with the sides polished and the lower sandblasted. This again just gives this watch another unique element, simply giving the watch more personality. The bezel is your standard sloped polished affair, with the upper lugs also featuring a sandblasted finish, meaning that there are no brushed surfaces whatsoever on this watch. But the weird construction of this case means that the watch actually appears a lot slimmer on wrist, specifically from side angles. I mean, the watch is already pretty slim at just 10.5mm, but this case construction makes it look like it's only 7 on the wrist. The case diameter on this piece is 37mm, with the lug to lug being just 42. These are, by all means, great dimensions for a modern dress watch. I always think that anything above 38mm is just getting a bit too big for a watch in this category, so I'm always a big fan of a brand releasing something that's a little bit more classical in size. One of the biggest letdowns though when it comes to the Seiko Cocktail Time is the use of a mineral glass, meaning that if you do manage to scratch it, the aesthetic of the dial will be ruined. Obviously Beaucroft went with a sapphire crystal on the Seeker. It also features an ever so slight dome to the sapphire. I'm not sure what this tiny dome adds to the look or feel of this watch, but it's there nonetheless. Flipping the watch over reveals the display caseback, with the Miyota 9039 visible through it. Beaucroft has used a custom custom rotor on this movement, with the Beaucroft logo and some pattern work around it. I appreciate how this movement actually fits the case of the watch. I always hate it when a movement looks tiny through a display case back. Here though, because of the unique case construction, it sits inside the case flawlessly. This is a genuine no date movement, so no ghost date position, and the 28,800 vibrations per hour delivers a nice smooth sweep. I like this movement. I like that it has some decent finishing with the Geneva stripes, and I've not once had a problem with the 9039. However, that display case back is only snap on, and the crown is only push pull, but this watch still delivers a respectable 50 meters of water resistance, which is fine, for me at least anyway, for a dress watch like this. This crown though is not your typical dress watch crown. It has an onion-like construction, which is super easy to grip and use for winding and time setting. Usually the supplied strap on a watch is an afterthought. It's usually where the brands cut corners and costs to deliver something that's subpar, but I have to give Beaucroft props for potentially delivering the best supplied strap that I've had on a watch. This is a genuine Horween leather handmade strap. You can tell by both the look and feel that this is no cheap afterthought. The leather has an oiled finish, meaning that it will patina and look great over time. The stitching is done to a flawless level, but it's the soft, supple feel of the leather that's the best part. This strap conforms to the wrist straight out of the box. My only real complaint is that the strap's a bit too long. I'm on the second smallest hole with a 6.5 inch wrist, so this strap likely won't fit anyone with a 6-inch wrist and below, which is a real shame given its high quality. Now typically when you buy a watch, or at least you receive a watch, you tend to get the most enjoyment and fulfillment out of it for like the first few days, right? But that hasn't been the case with this Seiko. This watch has grown on me the more I've worn it. I think that's just because there's so much detail on this watch that you just continue to find new things. And because the dial color is so dynamic, it's a watch that never looks the same twice. Now obviously I don't think that this is a perfect watch, I mean that's pretty much impossible, but I do think that this is a complete watch. The proportions are perfectly balanced. The movement is one of the best when it comes to affordable watches. The dial finish is simply incredible. The unique elements like the case, the branding, the indexes, so it is actually pretty hard to find fault with this watch. But I will put my super picky hat on to at least offer you a couple of flaws. This sapphire isn't the clearest I've experienced and could do with a little bit more anti-reflective treatment. Some will find the Beaucroft branding on the dial a bit unusual, with the brand and model name above the 6 rather than being below the 12. I know some will dislike the 18mm lug width and wish it was a 20, and I know for a fact that some people will moan that it's a bit too expensive at the £475 price tag. But these watches are completely original, from the dial design to the case. Matt from Beaucroft designs these watches himself, and all Beaucroft watches are hand assembled right here in England. And when you compare it against something like the Seiko Cocktail Time, in my opinion, there's only one winner, and it isn't the Seiko. I'll leave a link to the Beaucroft website down in the description. Go and check out this watch and some of the other cool dial colours that they do. I think you'll like them. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Bye for now.